This conference will now be recorded.
Morning all. So this topic has been on my mind recently for all the events that have been happening in life. But it's been an interesting topic because I didn't really know what it meant to wait on the Lord. But I'll start with something that's going to confuse all that's online. I think that their computer screens have frozen. But there was a research study done where they got a bunch of people together and they took their phones off them, they had nothing on them, they went into a room, and in the room there was a buzzer, and that would give an electric shock. And they were told, you have 15 minutes with your own thoughts. And in this experiment, they found that 67% of people would rather take an electric shock than sit in a room for 15 minutes with their own thoughts. So, when we're told to wait on the Lord, and we live in a society that would rather take an electric shock than sit and wait, what does it mean? How do we wait on the Lord? Probably the most famous quote for waiting on the Lord we can find in Isaiah 40. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. And this verse has been very encouraging recently. They that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. But what does waiting look like? You see, I want to renew my strength. I want to soar with the mount up on wings of eagles, but I don't know what waiting looks like. Interestingly enough, there are about 25 different words for waiting in the Hebrew. I'm only going to look at one of them this morning, and that's this word wait, found here in Isaiah 40. This word wait in Isaiah 40 is sometimes translated as hope. But it's interesting to find the definition to look back. I wanted to start here. So if we look at what waiting looks like, all these things up on the screen, we have this idea of waiting at a traffic light. No one wants to be there. No one wants to wait at a red light. In fact, if you're driving around Auckland, if someone just ever so slightly forgets that it's a green light, the amount of horns that go off is astronomical. No one wants to wait behind a car that's slow at getting off the line. There's waiting in waiting rooms. Waiting to be called. Or maybe there's waiting at the start of a race. The 3-second countdown. That anticipation. What about waiting while you're skydiving? Waiting to pull the parachute. Because if you pull it too early, things go wrong. If you pull it too late, things go wrong. But that exhilaration of the fall. All of these are waiting. But what does our waiting for the Lord look like? And to find that out, we go to the first definition in the Bible, the first place this word wait is used. So it's the same word that was in Isaiah 40. In Genesis 1:9, your translations will not look anything like this. I have edited it to make it have the word wait in the right place. And God said, "Let the waters under the sky wait in its place, and let the dry land appear." And so, in most versions, we'll have this idea of the water and the land were separated. But the word here is wait, and sometimes is translated hope. But the idea of water waiting in its place, that is the definition of hope. Oh, sorry, definition of wait. Water waiting in its place. When I was younger, my dad played this trick on me. I got up one morning to find that he had left his cup upside down on the bench filled with water. Now, it was intriguing to me. How had he done that? It seemed so impossible that he could get a cup and have it upside down on the bench filled with water. Yet he had. And so, in my curiosity, I wanted to see if I could flip the cup back up the right way. And as soon as I cracked that cup up, the water went all over the bench, all over the floor. And you see, this is what waiting is. It's the idea that this water in the cup is waiting for that moment when it will be set free to move, to find its new position. And then in its new position, it will wait again. But it's not a passive wait. It isn't like waiting at the traffic lights when someone in front of you forgets that they might be looking for a green light. It's not like you lift up the cup and the water just stays there and goes, "Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. I'm going to now spill out." You slightly crack that open and all the water spills out. There's no hesitation. It's waiting in anticipation. So when God separates the land and the water, and he says, "Wait in your place," the water has power, is ready to move, it is willing to move, but it is waiting in its place. So if that's the definition of waiting, what does it mean for us? And this morning I want to look at two stories of waiting in the Bible. One good and one bad. This first story of waiting is of Simeon, waiting at the temple to meet the Christ. We're told in Luke 2, if anyone would like to look it up, that Simeon was a righteous and devout man, and he was waiting for the consolation of Israel. And it had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he would not die before he had seen the Lord's Christ. How long do you think he waited to see the Christ? As he aged, how many times do you think he thought, "I don't even know if I can be bothered getting out of bed today"? But the fact that he waited with this anticipation, just like the water in the glass, he was ready, that when he was told, "Go to the temple today and you will see the Christ," he went. He didn't hesitate. He decided to go. And in that, he could see the salvation that was promised to Israel. And it says, and Simeon says, sorry, I need to find the verse. 29. "Sovereign Lord, you have promised. Now dismiss your servant in peace." Isn't that amazing? He says, "Lord, I have held on to this promise. I've waited for this promise. And now I can go in peace because I have waited. Now peace can be had." And it's interesting then that Simeon goes on to bless Mary in verse 34. And he says, "This child is destined to cause the falling and rising of many in Israel, to be a sign that will be spoken against, so that the thoughts of many hearts will be revealed." The thoughts of many hearts will be revealed. You see, those that wait on the Lord, their hearts and thoughts will be revealed, just like Simeon's was. And those that do not wait will also be revealed through Jesus. So we have this idea that there's a promise, something to hold on to wait for, and to act on when it happens, from the story of Simeon. Now, another story of waiting, or not waiting, in 1 Samuel. We have Saul, King Saul, and he's in trouble. There's the Philistines coming down to attack. And he's waiting for Samuel to come and give a sacrifice, to ask for the Lord's blessing. And he waits 7 days. It's a long time when you're scared. 7 days is a long time to be afraid. And when you see the people around you quaking with fear and running away, it's a long time. And so it would be easy for Saul to feel justified in what he did, saying, well, it's day 7 and he's not here, and he said he would be. Well, maybe I'll just ask the Lord's blessing on this myself. And so he does. And right then, Samuel arrives. Right then he arrives, and he tells Saul that he was wrong, that he should not have done this, because it wasn't for him to do. And it would be easy for us in our time of waiting to justify these actions based on fear. It's easy to say, well, things are falling apart, so maybe I can just try and do this my way. You see, Abraham and Sarah also did the same thing. Maybe we've waited so long that it's time to just try something out our way. When God wanted them to wait in anticipation, to wait as the water waits. So waiting looks like patient endurance. But it's patient endurance that is ready to see God's goodness fulfilled. It's a patient endurance that doesn't act out of fear, but holds on to hope. You see, the two people we've talked about this morning, Simeon and Saul, Simeon held on to hope. He held on every day, so that when the time came, he saw the salvation of Israel. But King Saul let go of hope in his fear and could no longer wait. And he lost the kingdom of Israel. Lamentations 3. I'd love to read this out with you all. Starting from verse 19. In this section, we also have the same word wait. And it's also mentioned in conjunction with hope. And I'd love you to notice this as we read. Lamentations 3, starting verse 19. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I remember them well, and my soul is downcast within me. Yet this I call to mind, and I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. This is a beautiful, beautiful section. And now I want us to go through this, and I want us to put Jesus in the picture. From verse 19, I remember my affliction. Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. I remember my affliction, the bitterness and the gall. My soul is downcast within me. Yet I call this to mind. So with all that, all the suffering going on, he calls this to mind. And therefore I have hope because of the Lord's great love. I'm not consumed. For his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion. Therefore I will wait for him. Jesus in the garden could wait for the salvation of the Lord. He could go through the death on the cross, waiting for that salvation. How beautiful a picture. How amazing that is. And we can read this section again, looking at ourselves, thinking of our afflictions, and then putting them aside to call this to mind, to call this hope to mind. You see, waiting on the Lord requires a focus so strong like Jesus in the garden. A focus that could call to mind this hope for the joy set before him. And calling that hope to mind, we're not consumed. And we can know that God's compassions are new every morning. Every morning. I don't know about you, but if I think about waiting on the Lord and being ready, I feel like I'm more sitting at a red light and forgetting why I'm there when I wake up every morning. But here we're reminded that every morning we have something to focus on. Every morning we have something to be hopeful of, something to wait for. Every morning. Not just Sunday mornings. Not just when we feel we need the extra strength, but every morning. And when we know this, we can say, the Lord is my portion. Therefore, I will wait for him. But there's two definitions for morning in the Bible, aren't there? There's that great and glorious morning as well. New in that morning we will be when the kingdom comes. And so we have that hope to hold on to. We have that hope that reminds us of God's great love. And with that, we can wait on the Lord, waiting in eager expectation. So let us look towards these emblems and see Jesus, the man who could put aside his anguish, his bitterness, and call to mind hope, hope of a new and bright morning.